Hey guys, Steve Welch here on my Fact of the Day channel with our Tales of a Car Guy, right? So, back talking to you again about some of the stuff that I've done is working through the aviation, the trucking, in several ways in the automotive industry, of course. So I wanted to get some of my stories out there just because some of them are really fun and interesting, and some of them are historical, right? So in 2010, the end of May in 2010, Nashville, which is where I was living, still live, we had a historic flood. People call it a 1,000-year flood. That basically means that there was a 0.1% chance, from what I was told, a 0.1% chance that would ever happen, right? So just several days of rain turned into flooding of the Cumberland River, and it flooded a lot. All right, so I think at one point the river was up like 28 feet, something like that. But and don't get me wrong, there were people that were affected, people lost their homes, things like that. But this is my direct story of what I did and how it affected me directly, which is how I do these tales, right? So I was working for a semi company and working on trailers, and the spot that we were at literally backed up to the Cumberland River, so you can kind of figure out where I'm going here. So what it was is we had a bunch of semi trailers all on this lot, just probably somewhere around 400 of them or so, maybe 500 of them, something along those lines, all backed up on this lot. Well, at one point, and they actually had gone across the river to get some pictures of it, and I looked for the pictures, and I don't think I'm going to be able to find them, but I looked for the pictures so I could show you guys some pictures. But there's just the spot that we had worked at was under about 12 foot of water. So how did we know it was 12 feet? Because it came almost to the top of the semi-trailers. A semi-trailer is usually about 12 foot 6 when you go to the top of it, and pretty much what you can see is about the top foot, you know. So you're roughly about 12 foot of water, a little bit less maybe, but yeah, you're roughly about 12 foot of water. So we all watched the spot that we worked pretty much disappear. I mean, the building that we worked in was gone, basically meaning underwater. It was still there, but there was nothing usable in it. Everything electronic, stuff like that, yeah, just everything had been buried. So now what we ended up doing as a company, they put together a plan, and they took a while to do this. I don't think we started to refurb these trailers until probably sometime around 3 or 4 weeks later. It never happened to the company before. They didn't know what to do. There wasn't a procedure for it. There wasn't something that says this is the way you do it if your trailer's been underwater. There wasn't none of that. So what they had to do is they had to come up with a procedure from scratch, talking to engineers, talking to, I'm sure legal was in it and stuff like that. You just scrap everything and start over. What do you do? So what they ended up doing is they decided to rebuild 200 of the newest trailers, scrap everything else, and we would yank tires. So we yank trailers have about 8 tires on them, and we would yank 4 tires off of them that were the best tires, or sometimes swap tires around to different trailers, and you'd send them to scrap with 4 tires on them because you didn't want to scrap good tires. And then we sent those tires all over to other facilities so that they didn't have to buy tires. So they found a way that they were going to save some money on it. But what we ended up doing, they had people come in from all the country. Jose was from Dallas. You had me and Tracy were already working at this facility. Chris, Indianapolis. There's a couple other people, and their names escape me, and I apologize to them for that. But yeah, we had a lot of just basically, I think it was about 6 people. We had a lot of people that were working on it. And then our boss, who was actually the operations manager of the facility, he let his assistants run the day-to-day of the facility, and then he was down and dirty with the rest of us, right? So now keep in mind too that by the time that we started working on these trailers, I'm going to tell you what we had to do to them, but by the time we started actually working on them, the temperatures were bumping to 100 degrees. The river had, like I said, it overcrusted just down the road. We were on kind of an industrial row, I guess you could say, but the river that was, or some of the companies that were down from us had some stuff that you didn't really want to have in the water. I mean, there was one company I know had an acid bath that was full of river water, and basically meant the acid that was in there was gone, and it was for like etching metal or whatever. So you had stuff like that had come down the water. We kept, we always made the joke that there's bound to be some stuff in this water that's going to kill us, right? Or in the dirt that was going to kill us. It was just always a kind of a going joke. Might have been true, who knows? But we're years past that now. But only about 20 years or so, 23 years as of making this video. But anyway, so what we ended up doing, so we had all of us there. They were going to rehab these trailers. So they ended up, you took the brake chambers. Brake chambers it's an air chamber which actuates the brakes on the semis. We took all of those, disconnected them, turned them over, let them drain, made sure that there was no faults with them, stuff like that, make sure that they still functioned, of course, but we would drain them. We had to blow all the airlines out, make sure that there's no water in the airlines. All of the computers, electronics, ABS systems, if it wasn't checked thoroughly, it was just replaced. Some of that stuff was just replaced. All the bearings were new. All the races were new. We changed everything when it came to that. We main valves and stuff that controls that, all that stuff was tested or changed. We went through all the lights that had water in them. Sometimes the lights would actually just see water in them. Well, you knew you were changing those. Other than that, you're testing them, and you were changing wiring, changing something known as a 7-way. There's just so many things that had to be checked or changed, and we would take days sometimes on one trailer. They pulled out all the plywood, so the walls on the inside of the trailers have a 1/4-inch piece of plywood on them, that in a lot of trailers, right? So all those had to be taken out. They high temperature pressure washed them. So I think the pressure wash was at like 190 degrees, and they pressure washed the inside of these after we got the wood out of them. Anything that touched water had that, and it wasn't just the hot water, but I think it had some soap in there too, and I don't know whatever else was in it to make sure that nothing could grow on it. But literally, we went through all this stuff, scorching heat. I remember they kept bringing us these things that they called bag o' rags, and we would tie them to our heads, and we were like, I don't know, we all looked like we were going to war. It's just kind of there were pictures out there, and I really wish I could find one to show you of all of us just sitting there, and they would take a picture, and when we were beat. You could tell we were all just tired. You got a couple 3 weeks into this, and we were just all beat up, and it was rough. And everybody from outside of this area, they volunteered. They left their family for 6 weeks and came to Nashville to help us. So more credit there. And like I said, I'm not minimizing anybody that lost a house or that did anything else. I'm just telling you my story about what I did in the Nashville Flood, and that was part of that. I'll mention something else about me, is that I was a pilot, still am pilot, but there was a airport called Cornelia Ford. Well, Cornelia Ford is where I actually trained for my pilot's license, and that was just off of the Cumberland River. And I went down there not too long after, and you could see that the planes that I had trained on had been covered over their wings with water, and they were obviously destroyed, right? I actually think somebody rebuilt one of them, but I think Bravo Tango, but I think somebody rebuilt rebuilt one of them and actually put it back in the air, which is actually pretty nice to know. But I'm not quite sure how I feel flying it now, but you know, if it's in the air, it's in the air, right? But anyway, so that, you know, we put so much into rebuilding all of those trailers and making sure that everything was right, and we did a great job. It's just, you couldn't have done it with, you know, without just, we had good direction, we knew what we were doing, we did it, you know, faster and faster on every trailer, I think, but it was just one of those things that we just knew we had to get it done, and we did. Now I will mention there was a competitor to ours that literally was like right next door, right? And they decided, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna, you know, they backflowed the water out. They didn't drain anything. They just backflowed it. So we were talking to one of their mechanics, right? They backflowed it. They opened up the hubs and drained as much water as would come out of them, put some grease back in them, and then, you know, put the hubs back on. So they didn't actually take out any of the grease that had already been in there. They just kind of added more grease to it and made sure any water came out. They did some things like that just to try to get their trailers back on the road quicker, and they succeeded. They were done in like 2 weeks with all their trailers. They were completely done. Everything looks good. You go, didn't change any valves, didn't. They might have checked the lights or something like that, but they didn't do near what we did. They had several of theirs fail. We had none of ours. No trailers that we touched, that we refurbished, failed due to the flood. Zero. None that we heard of. Let's put it that way. Zero, though. I guarantee you they heard of theirs. But there were none that we heard of that did it. And it's just kind of a testament to, number one, making the plan. They took their time to make the plan, and then the execution of the plan was done flawlessly. And it's not tooting our own horn. We had to do it flawlessly because every one of those 200 trailers were driving next to people on the highway. They were driving next to families. They were driving next to children, to, you know, first-time drivers. That if you have a bogie that comes apart, where a set of wheels come off, you've got, what, 250 pounds, 300 pounds, something like that, barreling down the highway at somebody. It can crush a car. It's a wrecking ball. You can't have that come apart. You can't have that fail. So we were very, very in tune to what we were doing, and we knew that no matter what we did, this could not fail. So if there was a question about anything, we replaced it. If there was a question about anything, we'd pull it apart and redo it. It was one of those things that there wasn't any pressure on us for speed. There was pressure on us for accuracy, which is a really good way to do it. Now, you know, I'm glad we did it that way. I didn't end up being worried that my work was going to kill somebody. And I know that, you know, a lot of people are like, wow, really? Yeah, realistically, if you think about look at the ads that are on daytime TV that says, have you been injured by a semi-trailer? Those ads are out there because those things happen. Things come apart, things happen that, I don't know, it's just crazy, right? But like I said, we kind of came together as all brothers, and we did that, and it's an experience I'll never forget, and I will never do again. I would never get back into doing the exact same thing. It was something you went home tired. Like I said, it was 100 plus. I mean, they brought us Gatorade every day because we had to have it. It was just one of those things that we had to stay hydrated. There was no running waters. You know, we were using like porta potties and that for anything. It was just, everything was destroyed. It was crazy. But yeah, that's Tales of a Car Guy and Fact of the Day channel. So that's me and the Nashville Flood and how I went through it and what I did to recover from it. I will mention that I didn't have any problems with my personal house or anything like that. I'm up pretty high, so that wasn't an issue, but I know there was a lot of people that lost their homes, and Opryland Hotel that was underwater. The Grand Ole Opry, that was underwater. The Opry Mills Mall, all underwater. A lot of people lost their jobs, their livelihoods. There was a lot of people that life happened, and they had to build up. And anybody who lived through the flood here has a story about it. Anybody. You know, and it might be a minor story, it might be a major story, it might be, I don't know, might be something like mine. I know at least one person has mine. Ain't that right, T-Dog? So, anyway, but, yeah, it is what it is. But, yeah, that was the fun of the Nashville Flood. So, I'm going to stop rambling. You guys have a good day. We'll see you next time on Tales of a Car Guy. Check out the Toyota channel as well. So I'm going to put half of them on the Toyota channel. I'll put half of them over here on the Fact of the Day. You guys have a good day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.